Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Yesterday, I was super fortunate to participate in the Atmo Esports event, Fight or Flight. And this event was specifically, I think, just like a warm up for them to figure out if it's like, I think, to answer the topic below, the viability of this specific event. And I want to talk about after participating in it, I want to talk about with the people who are watching the events like yourselves, the viability of the player run events. And I think what I want to do later in the week is reach out to the guys that participated in the event as streamers and the behind the scenes people and see if we can get them on the podcast and talk about the running of the event as a whole and all that and just have a nice conversation about that. But I really want to talk about with the general community, the person who viewed the event, what they thought, right? What they would do differently, some feedback, opportunities, as well as just what it was like watching the event. I happened to far exceed my expectations and come in second place. So little thin brag there, but it was super fun. It was incredible to participate in. But I want to know what it was like to be the watcher and how all that was. I thought that I got so many comments about how enjoyable it was, but I'd like to hear from you guys about what you liked and what you didn't. So, without further ado, I think we're going to have a little bit of a weird change here. Yeah, there's going to be two names up there. We're going to have Johnny Morgan come on, and Johnny Morgan hasn't been on for a little while, so it's great to talk to him. Johnny, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, I can hear you 5x5, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm using a different program to stream now. It's actually not because of the whole Streamlabs drama, but I am switching from Streamlabs over to Stream Elements.
I am too.
A totally different reason. They had reached out to me 2 days before the drama, Stream Elements, and were like, hey, want to be a part of our program? And I was like, yes, I love your stuff. So I've just been transitioning over the last few days. And it's been super
cool.
easy. I'm just not used to OBS Studio yet, so all my stuff was a little bit wonky.
Oh, the learning curve with all this stuff is amazing, right? So you were talking about my mic earlier, and I really appreciated that. I went through a journey to learn that, right? Equalizer, APO, voice meter banana, etc., and stuff, learning it all. But it's been great. But man, do I want to talk about this event. You guys were amazing. I'm going to keep myself on point and just reference that comment I made in Moist Chat yesterday when you guys were talking about, it wasn't the PvPers only, it was the wider community.
Yeah.
And I said in the chat, that for me as a viewer is what had made this amazingly interesting. And it produced this massive upset. Like I was team TDL, 100%.
Yeah.
I've been following his stuff. I've been over on YT with him. I've kind of moved over somewhat. And they were just him and Fresh doing the duos. I was like, man, duos content is super fun to watch. And then this event is duos. And they proved out that duos, I think, 100%, that type of like, it hit all the marks that watching like a Warzone tournament. And I watched Doc and I watched Tim, right? I got into Lupo. I only got into them, funny enough, because of TDL moving over, right? Like I was never really into them before. I knew who Doc was, but now I love the guy. I understand his shtick so well. Like, God, he's amazing. Violent speed momentum all the way. But this was in that vein, right? This is an environment I could see the wider community come in, and the numbers proved it. So my feedback for the event organizers, they had a little tech issue. They recovered from it well. The ingest server, is kind of a known pain point. So I'm sure they're going to work on that. Their casters maybe knowing the builds off by heart, right? So when Burks ended up taking out the wrong build by accident, they didn't necessarily catch it right away. There was a little confusion on the builds and knowing it, but that's minor in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
there was so much data to track.
At our liaison, we were like, he is not using the right build. He's not using the right build. And then,
but that was
jokingly, but not jokingly, which was hilarious. We were like, well, he should be disqualified, so we don't have to fight him in the finals if we get
round
through.
For sure.
But no, I really
was
don't
actually with you guys on that in the joking way, but
Absolutely.
not in the same time. This is the beta one, right? We're still in alpha.
Yeah.
But man, you guys rocked it. Everyone was amazing. And like, so I was on TDLs at first, and then I brought buddies over, eh? Like we had beers and wings and watched this on the big screen for them. It's the first time really seeing Star Citizen, and they loved it. Like they know I play and I talk about it a lot and stuff. And then they saw the head tracking and they were blown away by that. And They really liked it, and then I can't like they left because it was much longer than going on.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, for doing something like that, how was the downtime?
The
Like,
downtime was good because I was in a bunch of different channels.
yeah,
So for me, I was sitting in yours, I was sitting in TDL's, I was in Water Potato because I follow her too. I'm big on the international community. That was one thing I'd feedback them to. Keep doing that.
yeah,
Bring in all these people, these different orgs, next time around maybe, or have different leagues of streamers and orgs and mix them up or whatever. Great format though, 100%. They've hit the nail on the head. Like the numbers prove it. The proof is in the pudding. So that's really my only feedback. Like I loved you guys. This is the type of content I want to do. I've been working on a kind of a tournament style of my own in my, like I have the domain and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to start working more on that and reach out to people and stuff. I think this is the future for Star Citizen, in the sense like how we're talking to players doing it, not CIG. I've always been behind this community doing it themselves, and amazingly you guys pulled it off. Like this was professional level, 100%. It was so,
if
and
CIG
everyone
pulled
involved
this
in it
off,
came
it
off
wouldn't have been
professional.
as good.
No, and because it's not their core value, right? They shouldn't do it either. It's not their core value. It's not what they do. What they do is tech demos, and they do that really well.
What did you think about Crucian and Detox?
Love them. I did them with Tour Diverse, so I met them back then. I was in Tessa D's team, and I love Tour Diverse, so I love these guys already. I didn't realize who they were then per se, but and same with Corsair. Corsair was on the backside, but he was one of the casters on that one too, and he's great too. So the whole really team is fantastic. They did a banger job. Like this is literally a banger. We can call it a banger.
Dude, I thought they did it such a good job. Like, obviously, it was a sponsored event, so talking about the Toby thing is a requirement. But I thought they did it really well and made it a little lighthearted at times. I thought it was really good. But I thought their knowledge of the game was so strong. Like, I think my partner Noodle is probably one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to PvP. But when Detox was like color commentating, they were literally saying word for word the same things, and I thought it was really strong. So like sharing that knowledge with the viewership who most likely doesn't have the same ideas was just super strong. He drove me mad though, because I feel like they weren't expecting me to win, and I felt like that they were making a lot of excuses for why we won, and other than the reasons why I feel that we won. So that is a little bit, I was a little bit kind of tilted by that, but yeah.
Well, because they have their own picks, right? Because they're still players. And I'm sure, like, so anyone who creates an event, and I've done events in real life, you never get to participate in them. So there's a part of you that will always want to be able to play in your own event, but you won't get to. One of the things I guess I wanted to talk about there too, I guess I'll wrap it up here, was two, actually. One, I love the Toby guys. Their interview was amazing, actually. It was really nice to know their feature and focus and how they're invested in Star Citizen to bring their product to market through it, right? So it seems to be like they have a tight integration there, and that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
But was on, the upset. So I think their format really got proved out by that upset happening throughout the whole tournament, right?
Yeah.
So TDL getting knocked out early. Zero, I didn't expect getting knocked out when he did either. You guys advancing, I actually did kind of expect that, to be honest with you. I did not expect you guys to get popped out in the first. We got the death aura, the freight king, right? The box king becomes the death king. That was such a good line. Yeah. Personally, still my favorite line of the one. Detox nailed that one there. And then it became true, right? So it was amazing. And I got to get off, otherwise I'll just keep saying amazing. But Water Potato loved her too. Like
just because she's French, I think a lot of people didn't know. Like, people know Tarada because Tarada
Canadian background.
Oh, she's French Canadian.
No, she's France, but I'm used to French, right? I live in Ottawa, so
okay.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable in the French community. I can't speak it, but I can follow it, so I pop in and watch the shit.
Gotcha. Yeah, because she's on that side, Tarada has, because his videos are mostly him flying, have gone across language barriers, but people in the American side, and the stream was obviously done in English, I didn't know her. Most people did not know who she was outside of the French community. Nobody knew how good she, people knew that she was good, but most people in the tournament that were participating did not know how good she was until we were watching, and we were like, we get through Zero State, we knew what we were dealing with there. We get through Berks, we knew what we were dealing with there. But when we saw how well she did against Tarada, which people thought was a favorite, that was our most nerve-wracking experience, and that was where I think
Wild card,
Noodle really showed his skills in that specific one.
Oh, and that was my last point. Your guys' comms, like in any really good esports tournament, comms seem to be the defining factor when you have people of relatively equal skill.
Yeah.
And because of the tourney style, and I think their format was proven out well, is that they kind of balanced out the skill to ratios between people. So now they can do this really wide net.
Yeah.
And I think they represented all the demographics that play Star Citizen and invested their time and energy into it really well through this. So 1010 Detox and crew, you guys freaking nailed it. And I think you guys have an amazing future. I'm going to get off here because otherwise I'll just keep saying amazing.
All right,
I love
John.
you guys. Thank you so much.
For the call,
as
man.
a viewer too, as a viewer, I really appreciated it. It was amazing for me. Like I felt so involved in it. So cheers everyone. Thanks, Mikey. It was incredible.
No problem. As a player, I'll drop you now, Johnny, but as a player, oh god, I'm not set up at all. I can't press a button to do this. I have to click everything. As a player, I was enthralled in the event and was excited about everything. We were doing channel points, predictions on who was gonna win, and a lot of them were really close. I was rooting for some of my friends, and obviously we were rooting for some teams to win over others, so maybe we would have an easier time in the end. Except at the end, like, I just thought Water Potate's team was so, like, they were so nice to us too after we won, that I actually just wanted them to beat Berks. So if, like, we lost to them, it just felt better. Like, it's a weird way where it's like, man, losing to Berks felt weird at the end because he was supposed to win. I can't describe it. It was just our experience after beating Water was so different, and it was just like, oh, I would have loved to see for them to get to the final, I guess, was more what it was. That's kind of what I mean there. But all right, let's go to our next caller, Fresh as Ice. Now, before Fresh comes in, the Fresh participated in the event. He was Dark Law's teammate. But I did want to get the perspective of somebody who was participating in the event as well, but not on the highlighted side, because I thought that was some spots where the feedback loop could have been better or something like that. So, Fresh, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. How's it going?
So I gave you a little bit of a preview. Let me bring up your logo here, which is awesome. I want to give you I gave you a little bit of a preview that you participated in the event, and I wanted to get your feedback from that side. Obviously, the streamer is highlighted a lot, but I gave some feedback earlier about I would have loved to see your perspective as well, because just because you weren't a highlighted content creator of some kind doesn't mean that your view wasn't as valuable.
Yeah, so I think a lot of wingmans, I'll just call them wingmans, were really underrated. Like, no one knew most of the wingmans. Obviously, you knew, or everyone knows Noodle.
Yes.
But, like, Berks' teammate is really unknown. I was pretty much unknown for everyone, or still am.
Mm-hmm.
All the other teammates were too. And I think that's a little, I don't want to say unfair, but they put a lot of effort in to help their streamer look really good or win or help fighting.
Yes.
And I think most of them would have probably been willing to stream as well. At least for me, I would have been willing, and some others probably would have too.
You didn't even have to stream, just so you know the background. You didn't have to stream to a live audience to have your view be seen.
Yeah, so I could have probably just streamed over Discord, or I don't know how it works, but
yeah, it was a complicated thing, but I believe it could have been done at least at the later stages. I don't know if they could handle as much coming in early with as many teams, but as the teams got later, they could have done that. I just feel like you didn't get the whole story. So, like, TDL, your team didn't do as well as people thought, but really we only saw TDL's perspective, so we didn't get to find out what happened with you in the fight and why maybe TDL needed to run in some scenarios. Everyone looked and was like, he barely fired a shot, but we don't really know why, you know?
All right, so I'm just going to cover the first match.
Yeah.
For us, we had the same strategy as Burks. We were like, we have to get the Hornet out of the way first because
Yep.
that's the less agile ship, most DPS and everything. So our
Yeah.
plan was everything on Pale, I think he's called.
Yeah.
And if you would have saw my perspective, you would have probably seen that my merge was pretty good. I actually unloaded a shit ton of damage on Pale. I don't know if that was even seen on
No.
Burks' stream, to a point where his shields were down and his hull was quite damaged. And at that point, Law basically got the same treatment from the other guys.
Yeah.
And the difference was, in Law's head, since his mentality is kind of survive and everything, he turned around and wanted to get his shield back, where Pale had the killer instinct and just wanted
Yep.
to do more damage. And at
Yeah.
that point, it was harder for me to actually chase him and do damage on him, whereas the others basically chased him down and killed him. But
Yeah.
like in the first 10 seconds, I was like 100% sure we're going to win this.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I've got so much damage down on him. His shields are down. Just finish him off. But at that point, he already turned around and went. It was just miscommunication, or just
Me and
just
Noodle were yelling at the screen, turn and shoot him. Just turn and shoot him. You got to get
exactly, yes.
And that was what was so cool about the event. And I wish we could have done that for the opposite side. Like the opposite side as in the teammates. And we could have had that same level of communication, because these are also opportunities for people such as yourself, who are more unknown, let's say, that to become known, right? These are opportunities for that.
And you're also missing out on a lot of like very nice PvP content, because me and Pale were battling it out, and the streamers just saw basically Burks chasing Law, but not the actual fight between me and Pale, which was really, in my opinion, I had the fun in my life, even though we lost.
Yeah,
like that's what they were missing out on.
Yeah, and I think that's why I just for clarity here, I kind of pushed Ice to come on, to give this feedback loop here for the event in particular, because of the fact that I think a lot of people looked at TDL's matches and found them underwhelming because of just the scenario and how it played out, but only because of the point of view that everybody had, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Just quickly to like swap it a little bit, after participating, after watching parts of the event, I didn't really ask Johnny this, so I should ask the rest of the callers, is what do you think the viability of events like this are in the future? Do you want to participate in more? Would you be a viewer if you weren't participating after seeing this event? I think Atmo is obviously the gold standard for PvP or whatever events in Star Citizen. I don't think too many people are doing events of this caliber, but in general, I think, for me personally, I think it showed the viability of these events as legit being a thing.
Oh yeah, they're 100% viable, and they push the game to another level. Like,
yeah,
I think a lot of people that are not invested into PvP actually felt the kind of hype that was going on. Like, we were out really early, so I was able to watch the whole thing. And the thing that got me was you actually like getting off your chair after you won versus Burks and like celebrating. I think even your, I don't know, girlfriend, wife, I'm not sure.
My wife, yeah.
Like celebrated with you, and that just was another level, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I said it at the end. We had this like little interview at the end when we were knocked out. The amount of pressure that is on you when you're competing against your peers is completely different than streaming to a bunch of people. Like, the amount of people that are watching, I don't care. It was the fact that it was me against my friends. Like, the first 2 matches were my friends. It was Zero State, it was Burks. Like, these are people that I've interacted with all the time. Zero actually hasn't been on the show yet. We need to do that. I just realized that. And it's like bragging rights. It's like Mario Party with your you know, like everything matters. So there's so
Yeah,
much
you
pressure.
can mention it every time, and everyone
Yeah,
knows it's not 100% serious, but it still feels good to be on top of them, basically.
exactly. Like the fact that I beat Burks once was my championship. It doesn't matter. Nothing else mattered. It would have been the same thing if we beat you guys. And that was, it just felt so good. But I don't know,
Yes.
is there anything else you want to talk about the event or anything else on your mind?
So just as a like my impression, I mean, most of it was really well organized, and
Yeah.
obviously I think they did their best the way to do it the way they did. But I don't know how you felt about all these markers like
Oh,
everywhere on the battlefield. Like the first match, I actually didn't really have that much of an issue, but when we were on Daymar, everything was just clustered full of markers and ships, and it was super hard to actually find the target you want to fight at the right time. Like it was a little too much in my opinion, but I don't know. I don't have a clue how they set up their security. So
so what we did was, for our match with Water Potate was when we were like, yo, um, the party markers, we're not dealing with this anymore. It's ridiculous. So they said we had the option to make our own party. So I was like, okay, so that's what we did. So we lost all the party markers. But if you watch back at least my view on the Water Potate match, we were fighting against her teammate, Mateo, who's very good. And I accidentally misclicked and lost his lock, and I could not find it. And I was constantly locking on the cameramen over and over and over again. And that's
yeah, or the
why,
middle
like,
ship or whatever
yep,
ships.
exactly. So Noodle carried there because I was unable to fire on anybody for a good, I felt like 30 seconds or more. And
Yeah, and in those 2v2, in those high skill 2v2s,
yeah,
like these 30 seconds is all that matters basically.
yeah. So the cameramen were good, but the views that the cameramen got weren't worth the everybody wanted to see the views of the pilots because that's where you see the skill and that's where you actually see what's going on. And it would, so I think just going back to the feedback, we should have just had all 4 pilots views and that's it. And then that would
Yes.
have removed a little bit of the clutter and been fine. But what I will tell you is, instead of because we left the party, they immediately rolled with us and said, okay, go to this OM and we will fly you down to where you need to go. So they, on the fly, they were very good about taking our feedback and saying, this isn't working, can we change it? And change it on the fly. Their communication was fantastic. So in case you guys didn't know, while we were playing or while Fresh was playing, there was a liaison that we can communicate to in Discord, and they would give our communication to like the main team in their guilded, and then they would relay back to us what is happening. So it was really awesome in terms of like, hey, we don't like this, can we do something about it? And they just communicated, bang, like immediately changed. So as far as like that went, the viability of player run events, I don't know if many teams would do something like that. As far as like Atmo is showing that it's possible, but I don't think people would put in the effort that Atmo does. So yeah.
Now here's a question that obviously always pops up on every player-driven event. I think we also had some trolls on the server doing the whole dragonfly thing at the
Yeah.
terminals.
Yep.
Do you think you can get rid of this, or how do you prepare for that?
So you can't in Star Citizen. It's just too hard. So this is where the viability of player run events starts to fall apart a little bit. Is at the very end, we had to rush into our fight. The fucking championship fight. We had to rush because somebody got into the server with an A2.
Oh yeah.
So it was like go 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 go. But like as soon as my feet hit the ground, we took off basically. So that dude is like a complete idiot and was going to get banned if we said something. Like there was the opportunity to ban him probably from life for Star Citizen or for a very long time or for that day. But I said I'd rather have this guy trolling in the this area than him getting kicked from the server and another troll coming in and going to the actual area where we're fighting and ruin it. So I just said, just leave him. You know, he's not doing anything that bad. He's just being an idiot, basically. So the viability of player run events when it comes to this stuff, that is where it all starts to crumble. And I thought Atmo handled it really well, but in the future, and this is a question I'll pose to the rest of the people, it's not viable anymore, right? Like, what do you do then? It's got to be like Private Arena Commander, and that's it.
So for me, I don't know if this is even possible, but if you can get a CIG employee, like we already got support from CIG by giving us the whole package with guns and weapons and everything, which was awesome and really well sorted out. I don't know if it works that there's one CIG employee on the server, and they obviously have the ability to just kick people off the server that actually do this stuff. Like, I don't know how hard it is to do this kind of stuff, or if it's actually legal or whatever you want to call it. But that would be like the next step they maybe could do.
Yeah. Or like assign that server so people can't join it after the initial launch in or something. Other than
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's yeah, that would be interesting because we know that will be on maybe the future with server meshing, it's built in there. And yeah. I don't know. That's where the viability for me does break down a little bit. Is the future post server meshing? What happens? Are they going to provide a private shard of some kind? You know?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's weird. So I mean, it's a player run event. Player run events shouldn't get that treatment necessarily either. I think some people would argue.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but fresh. Unless you have something else you want to add, I would say. I appreciate you coming on and giving your perspective on things.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. And just keep on wrecking the people, that trash on you.
Thanks, man.
I mean, again, I don't think most people like expected from you to get that far. So I mean, I was like, let's face Salty. We probably just roll the floor, I'm going to be really honest with this.
Of course.
But yeah, that was really nice to see that, like, people like Water Patat just came out of the dark and just, surprised everyone.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, Fresh. Let you go, buddy. Thank you so much. Be good. All right, and our next caller is the Doc. Doc, what's up, dude?
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Did you watch the whole event, a little bit of it, or just all of it?
It was a small part of it that I watched. It was always a small part.
And what'd you think?
It was cool. It was good. It was interesting to watch.
So, what did you think about it? Like overall, any like details other than it was cool?
I like the way they had it set up.
Yeah.
But I don't think the party markers worked as well as it could have worked.
Yeah.
Because there was just too much on the screen to see.
Yeah, like from a viewer perspective, was it difficult to figure out what was going on? I mean, it was from our perspective, it was quite tough the first couple matches.
Yeah.
But
I would say it was hard to see exactly what was happening at certain times.
Yeah, apparently that was sort of our option, and we didn't know until our third fight. But that wasn't not communicated by them. I think it was communicated by them. It was just me and Noodle were so nervous that we didn't really... We just focused on our strategy against the ship and all the other stuff. Like, I didn't turn on my Toby thing properly until the last match because I didn't understand the instructions for that very well. I thought I just needed to have it on for my stream. I didn't know they wanted it on the screen the whole time. So, yeah. It was weird, but I eventually figured it out and had it on for the last match. And, of course, that's the one I lost. But... yeah, I wanna ask you something. This is a point I wanted to bring up in my beginning, but I never did. I thought that this shows the viability of something else. This event was very interesting in one aspect. I saw some desync, some issues with desync. We had a couple crashes that resulted in the deaths of players because they crash into other players because of desync. But I saw very little in comparison to what we see in a full-blown PU. And the reason was because we flew from... We all started in the same areas because we knew where it was going to be. So everybody was at either Grimhex or Port Olisar when they spawned in. And we basically server meshed Crusader into one little area. And, you know, nobody was at Hurston. Microtech wasn't in. ArcCorp wasn't in. So the server, I think, was, at least during the beginning, was running at a much higher level. Did you guys notice, like, from the viewers, did you notice desync? Like, I just felt like I was fighting, and I thought I saw the person pointing in the right direction that he was pointing in, and I felt like I was hitting somebody that was fighting me, and it was very interesting to see server-side OCS like kind of do its thing for the first time ever. And I don't know, from like your perspective, did you see that stuff, and did you notice
I would
it?
say that. I would say that as well.
Yeah.
It was all like accurate and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think over time it got worse, but
Yeah, over
I
time
think,
it will get worse because servers are crap at the minute. But
yeah,
overall, it was good.
Would you ever participate in one of these if you could?
Would I? Probably, if
Yeah.
I had some skill.
Doc, I participated.
Yeah, you. If I had the skill, I would. Like, if I actually put the time into practice and, you know,
Yeah.
spoke to some people, like, I might actually try.
What'd you think about the hosting and everything?
That was good. That, like, to see how they handled it, like, overall.
They're pros, eh? I mean, listen, they're streamers, but
They're pretty good.
Hosting is different than streaming, and they were professional.
Yeah, they had it down, like, proper, like,
Yeah.
down, like, they handled it really well.
Yeah, I really thought it was awesome, and just overall, it felt like an esports event. It was weird.
Yeah, it really did it. Like, yeah, it felt like an actual hosted event.
Like, as jank as things happened, there were obvious like issues. It was as good as it could have went, I feel like, for a Star Citizen esports event. Like,
Yeah.
where would we be without some jank, right? And the main jank was on their end rather than the game's end. Like, me and Noodle, I accidentally, and this was like 100% my fault, I accidentally damaged my ship by 3% before the final. And I went back and repaired, but that was the only time that we weren't completely ready and hanging out waiting for our fight. Like, we didn't run into any bugs, there weren't any crazy issues, it was just pretty smooth sailing for us the whole time until the end. So I think it's possible that these events could keep going. I'm just worried about the future of the trolling and
Yeah, the trolling
people,
is a big issue.
yeah,
Trolling.
people trying to break into the events.
Yeah.
For the future when server meshing comes in.
Yeah, like, how does that work? Like, how do you handle issues
I don't know.
with... Yeah.
And, like, do you give player-run events special treatment? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's hard to think about that.
Yeah. It would be really interesting. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very curious. But in general, okay, I'll ask this. I didn't ask this to anybody. Johnny brought it up. What did you think about the loadouts? Because I've seen a couple people talk about the fact that it wasn't a true PvP event because it wasn't as sweaty. Like, it wasn't the sweatiest PvPers against the sweatiest PvPers the whole time, and it wasn't the sweatiest loadouts. I messaged the guy who did the loadouts, and I just said, you made the tournament. But I don't know what you guys think about some of the loadouts. Shotgun builds, and I was pretty pissed off about the ship I was flying in at the end. But in reality, it changed the game. So from your perspective, what did you think?
it was interesting to see how they handled that, because they didn't like pick the hardest stuff to go with.
Yeah.
They did some interesting things, I think.
Yeah, you had to think. It
He
was
had tried
different.
to like, yeah. It's like I saw like you like actually thinking like about how to fly and how to shoot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was
Did you
interesting to see.
Now, the question I have is, did you pop between the actual streamer streams to hear the comms, or were you only watching the main Atmo Esports channel?
I was in your stream
Uh-huh.
at the time.
Did you think that you got more out of watching us than, like, I wonder if they, like, one day can do, like, a behind the scenes, like, I don't know, the comms was such a factor, I feel like, in the entertainment value. And I think they missed that, but how do you do that with somebody commentating over it? Like, no esports you don't hear the comms, right?
You don't hear the comms, you don't hear them like talking in the background sometimes.
Do they in other esports events, do sometimes like they silence the casters, and then like you can hear the comms in a moment for a few seconds and then they go back to the casters? I feel like they do that sometimes. I think that's maybe some feedback maybe we could have gotten, like, all right guys, we're gonna hear Salty's team and see what they're talking about. That would have been some interesting feedback to give them, I feel like.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
So, anything else, Doc, that you want to add?
No, not really.
Yeah. Are you team SaltEMike or you team Burks?
I don't know. I can't really.
Oh, what?
I didn't watch Burke, so I can't really say anything.
I thought we were brothers, dude. God. All right, Doc. We'll let you go. I'm very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
I have actual friends in SC now, so I might actually put the practice in.
Nice. Well, good luck, and I hope we see you in a tournament soon. Because if you guys don't know, anytime we've done, when I do stuff with my community, it's usually like mining and stuff like that. Doc is ready to go in a combat ship and kills anybody near us. Doesn't care. He's a stone cold killer. So I'm looking forward to seeing Doc in one of these events in the future, man. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you around.
Bye now. All right, our next caller and our final caller for the day is going to be Marky Boy 89. Marky, what's up? Can you hear me, Marky? Are you there? Marky? Hello? No Marky Boy 89? All right, we will swap out Marky Boy because I see Meyer popping in. Now, Meyer, I'm going to bring you in here for the save. I was going to reach out to you later this week because on Wednesday, I was thinking of doing a kind of a recap answer the call with everyone that was participating in the event that I could get. But coming in for the win, if you're here, can you hear me? Or is there something going on?
I can hear you,
Discord?
yeah.
Okay,
I can
cool.
hear you. I was listening to the stream. I was like, oh, I'm delayed. But I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's all good.
So, the topic is viability of player-run events, and assuming on a Wednesday, like 7 hours from now, would you be able to be on a podcast?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, so we're doing a little scheduling now. So I'm just going to try to bring people in, answer the call style one at a time from people that participated in the event. I'll try. I don't know what's going to happen this week, so for people watching, keep an eye out on Twitch and YouTube for Wednesday. I'll see if I can pull something off there. But we're kind of giving feedback on the event, viability of the event, all that stuff, so go off, man. I thought your team was awesome and did great. You guys exceeded expectations as well.
I was carried so well, man. I was carried so good in the fight against like the Astropub. Yeah.
Hannah's amazing. So, how did it feel joining a PvP event as a non-PvPer? Because I know the feeling. Did you feel pressure to perform, or did you feel no pressure because you weren't a PvPer? Or like it's not your shtick, like, you know, a Burks or a Darklaw type Zero. Those guys.
I think it was the latter, really, because, like, again, I'm not a PvPer like yourself, you know, like I do basically everything that's not.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like people like Hannah and stuff, like they do all the PvP around me.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of kept in this bubble. But no, I was watching your fights, and whenever you won, man, I was so pumped. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I do want to do this.
Yes, right?
Maybe I do want to. Yeah, no, that was really, really cool.
I was realizing that while I was fighting. Like, I was like, maybe I want to do more of this. Because it was just, it was so fun. I mean, like, the teams we were up against, it was David versus Goliath literally every match, it felt like. So when we won, it just meant so much. And I don't know. I just come from a competitive background, so losing is not something that I do well.
It's not an option.
Yeah. So it was just so hype when I won. It felt so good.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, there were other non-PvPers there, you know, so, like, when I saw, you know, like, the Astropub and Buster there, I was like, okay, I got my eyes on this loser's bracket here. If I can fight these guys, then I'm happy. And it happened. But Hannah was just so good that, like, I didn't actually get to do anything. By the time she got in there, like, Paul's ship was disabled and blew up, and Buster got missiled. But I still won. We still won. Yeah, that match.
So, like, to bring it to the topic a bit, what do you think of the viability of player-run events in the future after you've participated? I know you've participated in the Daymar Rally, I believe, and some of the other things.
Right.
So after doing this event and the others, what do you think about this in the future? We kind of talked about in a server-meshed environment, things really are going to change because you can't just make a 50-person server. What do you feel about the future of events like this?
I mean, I think it's really, really cool that, like, a group have come together to create, like, an esports team already, or an esports organization to help kind of facilitate this stuff already.
It's insane.
You know, like, because
sponsors and all this stuff happening. It's just crazy time.
Yeah, so they have the framework for it. It's kind of now in, like, you know, CIG's sort of like a field to make it so that they can do something with them. Whether or not the community as a whole will be happy about it is another question in general.
Yeah, we could touch on that for a little bit if you want. I've seen some comments in chat like that CIG shouldn't cater to things like this, but then at the same time, I think the community really enjoyed it. So,
right.
Why
I mean, the people who
that?
Exactly. The people who don't think that CIG should cater to it basically have blinders on what they want. You know, that's the, the BMM when crowd. That's the people who want, like, something very specific at a Star Citizen, and they're not looking at the game as a whole.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the stuff that I think that can, like, kind of coexist with it pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, like, again, I've been part of the Daymar Rally. I've participated, and I've also helped cast things like, the Hurston Hurt Locker and stuff. Like, within the 50-player servers, it's much easier for them, if not still such a feat, to, like, get everybody in and organize it, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to fill the server.
When we first loaded in, I got the bug where my entities don't go up, and we had to we had to reset and go into another server, I believe, just to get me in. I was one of, like, 3 people that weren't able to get in, so we had to reset. It was a mess. So it's tough still with this game.
I mean, like, with the Daymar Rally, because, like, one of the servers, because they had, like, 5 servers running at the same time, one of the servers didn't have enough people to fill, and so some people actually landed into the race, like, the course line with, like, rail guns to, like, Sans Nomad, those, the people driving along the road. And as cool and as funny as that is, it's not really conducive for, like, quote-unquote e-sport event. So, I think that CIG would likely have to do something that some people will be pretty against, which is just spooling up a server that, is just for those people.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see the ability to participate in CIG run events, like story arc events and things like that, where everything is open. But I don't see anything wrong. And I'll say this in this way, more importantly, and I think you would agree. If I never participated in another event again, to take the ego part out of it, I would still want them to create like a separate shard for them. So this is, and it seems like it might be easier the way they talked about server meshing, right? I'm sure you followed that panel, that they can create this shard that only these people in this list are able to get in, and it almost is like it could be more possible in the future.
Right. It makes the most sense. I mean, like, again, as you say, like, you know, with the shard tech, the way that they've described it, it seems like a more feasible thing for them to do than, like, you know, the dream, I guess, goal of like full server meshing where like anybody can show up at any point at any time. Because in that scenario, then it makes things like the Daemon Rally and everything else just completely impossible to do. I mean, even in this event, you know, like we still had people at the ASOP terminal, you know, like, you know, they weren't doing anything, you know, like they weren't physically getting involved. Otherwise they'd get banned, right? But they were walking up to people and like, you know, talking in chat and like spawning dragonflies and just being generally kind of odd. But yeah.
Yeah, like I want to ask you this question too, because I brought this up and you might not have been here yet. Did you notice like the lack of kind of issues? There was a lot less issues, a lot less desync, because we all spawned in one area and, you know, nobody was at ArcCorp, nobody was at Hurston, nobody was at... I mean, some people ended up at Hurston, but nobody was at Microtech. It was kind of like what a server meshed environment might look like, and things ran pretty smooth. So, like, when you look back at what server meshing could do, I think we might have had the opportunity to experience it a little bit yesterday. And
I'd say
exciting
so.
for the viability of not just player run events, but just Star Citizen in general.
Yeah, and you know, again, we were there for how many hours now? Like, from like 5 until midnight, and so like 6 hours.
14 hours.
And there was no 30K.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Imagine there was more 30Ks on the stream than there were on the actual event. It was
my
wild,
stream
man.
crashed 12 times in a row yesterday.
Yeah, yours did.
Yeah, mine crashed 12 times in a row. But I think it was because it's the recording thing that we were doing. Like it caused some issues because like I'm already running it like what my PC can do. But yeah. It was a really cool event. Yeah, it was a really cool event. But as for the future, what I think of the loadouts, I mean, like that guy who was like, you know, being interviewed, it seemed like he kind of knew his stuff, I suppose, well, more than I do. But I liked the loadouts because a lot of the PvPers who fight and stuff within the community, they go for a specific build that works the best in most scenarios. You know, that's what you call meta, right?
Yep.
And so, like, to have just builds that aren't necessarily that, but, you know, just are different, kind of really brought out a whole different kind of competition because people who are more comfortable in, like, you know, one specific thing were taken out of their comfort zones, you know, like, you know, which is really fun and interesting to see. Exactly, yeah.
It gave opportunities for people like your team and my team to have some advancement opportunities, I feel like. And it showed. It was cool. It was great for me, that's for sure. We
100%.
we had the worst we had the worst ships possible every single round. There was only one ship that we had that was like a viable loadout, I feel like, and it was the Sentinel. That was it. Every other time we had shotgun builds and Auroras and Banu Merchant or whatever, Banu Defenders. Like, it was just insane what we were flying.
But it's funny, right?
Other people fly arrows and stuff. And we're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. It's funny, right, though? Because
it made it more fun.
Because you're used to flying things like an Aurora sometimes and stuff like that. So you kind of know the limitations of that ship.
It's literally the reason we lost as well. Because I lost control of the Defender early in the fight. And I swear, I'm not going to say we win if I didn't do that, but I'm going to say it would have been a close fight at the end, because it got close when I got back. But Noodle was already shit on at that point. So it was, it could have gone the other way. And that feeling, I'm just so happy and proud, because even to get to that point feels really good. But
yeah, and
so cool.
in my last fight, we were Ascension on Warlock, so like the other team kind of knew this tack where like they both used the EMP at the exact same time, and that shut down, Hannah's Warlock, and then after that, that was GG.
Yeah, we didn't know about that. Otherwise, we would have utilized it because we had 2 EMP ships twice, or once for sure. But we utilized them, but not in that way. We never shut anybody down. It was crazy how quick they killed Hannah. We're like, there goes that.
There goes that. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I'm really hyped for the future of SC Esports, honestly, because like shoutcasting and stuff is something that I feel like it's more in my wheelhouse than being a competitor. Like I'm more likely to learn something and describe stuff and tell that story than I am actually competing. But as for like the actual viability of the thing as a whole, I mean, they're working on private matches again. So hopefully that comes out soon. So like, we can organize these things, like even without an esports organization. Theaters of war, but also, like how you could used to like start a private match and invite friends and not have anybody drop inside.
Sure, an arena, an arena commander.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
Thought the atmospheric part of this was the best part of it. I think space combat can get a little silly.
Yeah, no, it was. And honestly, I mean, like Firesprite has the assets now, and we've seen the new Broken Moon map that there is a full planet. So it shouldn't take, like a huge effort, I feel, to like just give us atmospheric. What did I say?
It shouldn't be like too hard.
I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, we have a Star Marine Good Doctor map, right?
How long have you been here for?
I've been here for too long.
That Star Marine map is horrendous. Star Marine runs horribly.
It does.
Yeah. So it like, I wish that was true, Meyer, but I don't think it is. We still don't have Theaters of War for a reason.
True.
It ain't that easy. So
it ain't that easy.
I'd love to see. I think this event, if Theaters of War existed, would have been amazing, because you would just like, you could have ignored the non-ship part and then open your own private match, Theaters of War, boom, 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 do it, and then you're done. You don't need all the extra stuff going on, and it probably could have run smooth. But again, we don't have that, so maybe the viability of player-run events, like you said, are in these things like Arena Commander, Theaters of War, Star Marine, and not in the PU as well. I'd love to see it in the PU though, because then it can be in like lore. I guess it could be in lore and Arena Commander too.
It could be, but it's like, like in that sort of lore, then it'd be like, oh, these players in a game, if it's in the universe, then it's like, oh, it's an actual thing. And I do like the idea of the risk of, like trolls coming in and actually needing to have security, but it does kind of then get in the way of actual, like what esports is supposed to be, which is, more clinical and best more defined.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like in our case, it wasn't always best on best. What did you think about that too? I liked that they brought in people like us, but I think I would like to see this in the future, best on best in some way.
I would love to see them do this again with qualifiers and with the actual, like, best, but I think they're saving that for when they can get things a bit more, I guess, clinical. Yeah. Because otherwise, these people who spend, like their lives doing dogfighting and stuff in Arena Commander, they will be vocal if like the smallest thing happens.
It's true, yeah. And I guess one of the last things, unless you have something else to add, as a shoutcaster, you mentioned before, and like being part of these events, I really would have loved to see, like in your fights, Hannah's perspective. We talked earlier with Fresh as Ice TDL's teammate about like being able to see his perspective would have showed why TDL's fights ended up the way that they did a lot better.
Right.
What did you think about that from this specific event, from like a feedback standpoint, the future, and all of that? Would you have liked to see? They had the cameramen, and that was all very Star Citizen and cool with the fancy camera work and stuff, and they did a fantastic job. But how often were we really on those cams, and what do you think people really wanted to see? I feel like I was dying to see Hannah, because we're watching you guys do really well, and we're watching Hannah kill people sometimes from the other person's perspective. but
yeah,
the true talent of a player is seen from theirs, I guess, right?
I agree. I think the reason why they didn't actually choose or they didn't do that is because we were allowed to bring in anybody.
Yeah.
And so anybody doesn't, most people don't have rigs capable of streaming Star Citizen, let
true.
alone, uploading it to people and that kind of stuff too. So
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
But it could be a nice prerequisite for next time. But then that just also increases that barrier to entry.
Yep, which makes it not good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Damn, I'm just sitting here going like, oh, that sucks, because it would have just stepped up the event so much.
It would have, yeah. That's why they use streamers, I guess, because we already have all this stuff, ready to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In that case, yeah. It's a good point. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add about anything?
No, but CIG have had local kind of like within CitizenCon and stuff like that. They've had like what they've called battle nests and stuff in the past, and like war rooms where they've had rigs and like local kind of clients and stuff like that. I think CIG with their $400 million raise could easily do something where they could like just not fly them in, but like during a CitizenCon if people come, or maybe fly them in or something. I don't know, like to an event. And like if people compete for it and do it localized there, have Atmo produce it and have something like this in a way that would kind of like get around all these little like issues. But yeah,
if you thought I was hype yesterday, if I was across the way from the people that we were fighting against, oh my god,
right.
The nerves would have been so high that if I did win, the elation would have been like overload.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
like
that was crazy. But that's a really good idea, because that's what that was. That was just pure excitement and just pure elation for doing something I didn't think I was capable of doing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But
But it's definitely something CIG can do. I mean, they did it for 3.0. So,
True.
like, why couldn't they do it for, like, a better patch? And, have Atmo or whoever else, produce it. Like, I think it would actually be a great event. It will showcase the game, showcase the ships, showcase the players. And, yeah. It could be where the future of esports and I guess player-run events within Star Citizen go in the future. I mean, like your title is player-run, right?
Yeah.
And Atmo is a little bit more than player-run right now. They're
That's
an
true.
organization. They're an esports team. But player-run, I mean, like I guess if you're talking about things like Rexzilla and stuff and other big group events, and I say Rex and you probably smirk, but like things like that, I think they could still.
That was an amazing time.
It was.
That was something really special. As much of a meme as Rexzilla is nowadays in this community, he wasn't back then. He was very. It was special. That was a special time, and he showed that you could do stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean,
he showed you can have fun in the game.
Yeah, he was a forerunner. I mean, like he was able to get people involved in a way that I don't think anybody has really ever been either willing or capable of doing before.
Yes.
But yeah, in the future with like server meshing and stuff, things like that might become a lot more difficult to do. But with events that have the backing of CIG, where CIG are like, oh, okay, let me put these ships in your account for a day, then yeah, like I do feel like there is a very promising future for people who are interested in it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Meyer, unless there's anything else, we'll let you go and maybe bring in Marky. I think his mic is working now.
Nothing to add other than like fight me, bro. 1v1.
Anytime. Aurora versus Aurora. That was my best ship.
All right. Okay.
All right, bro.
Dual mode. All right. Bye.
Later. I love Meyer, man. Marky. How you doing? Is Marky there? Are we gonna go through it again? Okay, Marky's just trolling now. Yeah, he just popped out. No, it seems like no mic for Marky. So, we'll give him we'll give him a little bit of an opportunity. Maybe he's able to pop in, but I don't know. So I think we'll leave it here and say thank you for watching, everybody. Again, I thought that this event just showed the pure opportunities and future for it's a Discord thing, guys. I'm sorry for Marky. I don't think it's his mic. I think it's Discord. When we switch channels, things happen. There is an opportunity. I'll have to change the Discord a little bit to make it work, but I think the event showed that the future of Star Citizen is bright in different ways. The future player run events could be bright, whether they're in Arena Commander, Theaters of War, Star Marine, or the PU. And I just had a fantastic time, whether it was watching the event in between my fights or participating in the event overall. I thought they brought what they did. What they did was they brought the people in the community that could help in the best way possible in the right positions. And yeah, it's just curious. It'll be very curious to see what CIG's participation is with things like this in the future, because that would literally determine the viability of quote-unquote player-run events. I think Meyer makes a really good point there at the end about the fact that Atmo Esports isn't exactly a player-run event, but the people in Atmo Esports were players first and are still players. So I still feel like not an official CIG run event, you know? And yeah, so guys, again, thank you for watching. But what I'm going to try to do is bring on guys like Meyer, Burks, Noodle, Dark Law, anybody that participated in the event, Zero. You know, we're just going to try to get them in order, and then maybe all be in like kind of a group conversation towards the end, where we can just chat about our experiences in the event and our fights against each other, and do a little bit of like a unique answer the call in that way later in the week. I'll just reach out to everybody and see the viability of that, and if I'm able to get enough people in to have it work. So yeah, any of the participants, I mentioned the streamers, I mean any of the participants, whether it was a teammate or a player, so or a streamer in that case. So guys, with that said, thank you for watching, and leave a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitch, it will be up on YouTube later today, so youtube.com/c/SaltEMike. If you're watching on YouTube, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, Sundays starting at 9, 10 a.m. in the morning, depending on the day, for Answer the Call, and then discord.gg to stop by and be a part of it. So hopefully you won't run into problems like Marky did today, and we'll be able to hear all of your voices. That's the point of this show, is to hear the voices of people that don't necessarily have a viewership to share their voice with. And we kind of give you a podium, and you can share your thoughts on whatever topic we're talking about that day. So thank you for watching again, and we'll see you guys next week.